Welcome back and a good evening. Now, I want to talk to people who are waiting for their hockey annuals. Yvonne was out the other day at Shoppers Drug Mart, and I said, "Well, see if the hockey annuals are out." And she's like, "Nope." And she actually sends me a picture of the magazine rack. She's like, "There's nothing. There's lots of football," and I'm like, "Football doesn't help me right now because I'm not doing the football videos." So, yeah, we're looking for hockey. So what I found out is this: Sports Forecaster only offers the digital one on their site. They'll send you a physical copy if you are a $24.99 annual subscriber to the site. So I did that. I thought, all right, so I want it. $24.99. Normally, the annual's $9.99 at the stand. Of course, you got to pay taxes. The digital version of the Sports Forecaster annual is a lot of fun. The hockey news, I don't have mine yet from the hockey news, but again, nothing on newsstands. And Sports Forecaster is saying they are not putting on the newsstands anymore. It'll be digital, read only. And, like I said, if you want a physical copy, you have to be the $24.99 annual subscription. I will say this: it's a fun yearbook online because if you're looking at a player and you click on their stats, it takes you right to a full bio on the player. So, kind of a fun thing. And now, here is why this video is being done now. So, I did my previews, and people have said, well, you're doing your previews early, aren't you? This is why. Because otherwise, when these magazines come out, these yearbooks come out, it would be easy to say, well, you were influenced by that. Oh, well, you put them. See, the first year I did previews, I waited until these magazines came out, and then I did my previews. And it didn't work out that well. Whereas, because people said, well, your standings look the same as the hockey news. So what's up? And this year, yeah, they really are very, very similar. So again, this is why I do my previews when I do them. So Sports Forecaster, as usual, their predictions are completely different from everybody else's. And these are the three that I have to work with right now. We'll see whether or not there's other annuals that come out. Even the NHL's annual that's normally out there, I can't find anything of it. Can't find anything on the NHL website talking about it. So everything's digital there too. But yeah, so let's get into this. First of all, we'll look at the Pacific. Vegas first. All three, Sports Forecaster, Hockey News, and myself, have Vegas first. Second, Edmonton. All three have Edmonton second. So far, it's the same. However, Sports Forecaster is the only one that has Vancouver in the playoffs at third. Hockey News and myself have Vancouver fourth and just missing the playoffs, which is on brand for me, right? They have third, Calgary. Hockey News, being they, have the Hockey News third, have Calgary third. I also have Calgary third, and the last Pacific team that makes the playoffs. The rest of the division, Sports Forecaster has San Jose at fourth. The Hockey News has them last, and I have them seventh. So that's a pretty darn large departure. Now, since they're below the playoff line, I guess they could have a mediocre record and, prove Sports Forecaster right still. But we'll see. Fifth spot, that's where Sports Forecaster has LA. The Hockey News also has LA fifth. I have Seattle fifth. I have Seattle higher than everybody else. Calgary is sixth on Sports Forecaster. Seattle is sixth, and I have LA in sixth on my division because I think Seattle's going to be better than clearly the Hockey News does, or Sports Forecaster. Sports Forecaster has Anaheim in seventh. That's the same as the Hockey News. I have Anaheim at last in the division. Seattle is last in the division on Sports Forecaster. The Hockey News has them sixth. I have them fifth. So there you go. And for people who've been wondering, when's Shannon going to get goal magnets for Seattle? I've had these for a while. Yeah, so there's the Pacific. Let's take a look at the Central. Colorado is first. Sports Forecaster, Hockey News, and my list. And again, you can see how close the Hockey News and mine are to the Pacific. So there you go. Because it would have just been me saying, yeah, the Hockey News has them in first, so do I. Oh, they're in second? Me too, right? So, now, at second, Sports Forecasters diverging with Dallas at number 2. Hockey News has them at fourth. I have Dallas fifth in the division. And as the last wild card, meaning I have Dallas crossing over and playing Vegas in the first round. Now, Chicago, they have third in the division. The Hockey News and yours truly have Chicago at sixth. So that's that's a divergence right there. Number 4, St. Louis is rated 4th on Sports Forecaster. Hockey News has them at 3rd. So do I. 5th is Minnesota on the Sports Forecaster list. That is the same spot the Hockey News has them. I have Minnesota at 4th. Of course, the interesting thing is if Kaprizov doesn't play, we're all going to look back at this and say, so we really didn't think that through because it does look like for Kaprizov, him starting the season on time is starting to become questionable, even if he were to sign within the next week, because there's quarantines he has to go through, there's other paperwork, the visa stuff he has to go through. He may miss the start of the season, and who knows what that does to Minnesota. Now, Winnipeg, Sports Forecaster has them 6th. The Hockey News and yours truly have Winnipeg 2nd. So Jets fans who want to say that I bury the Jets and I don't like the Jets, I accept your apology. Number 7, everybody agrees Nashville's 7th in the division. Everybody agrees Arizona is last in the division, which I find interesting because, again, I like some of what Nashville did, but I look at them and go, they look like they're trending down. And, again, this is where people would look at this and they'd say, okay, if you look at the Central, basically Dallas and Minnesota are swapped on my list, comparatively speaking, with the Hockey News. And, again, if they don't have Kaprizov in the lineup, I would put Dallas ahead of Minnesota, probably Chicago as well. So maybe that gets them in the playoffs. Let's take a look at the East, the Metro Division. Sports Forecaster has the Rangers first. So Rangers fans, you owe them $5, I guess. The Metro, the Hockey News has the Rangers at 6th. I have them in 5th. I have them just missing the playoffs, but definitely getting better. Carolina is 2nd on both the Sports Forecaster and the Hockey News. I have Carolina in 3rd. Some of the changes they made in the offseason have me dropping them a little bit. 3rd in the division, the Metro 3rd is the Islanders on Sports Forecaster. They are 1st on the Hockey News list. I wanted to have the Islanders 1st, but I just kept thinking, no, the Islanders will have a downbeat during the season. I put them at 2nd. I thought, no, I can't see them necessarily winning the division. It's the playoffs where they really come to play. 4th in the division, Washington for Sports Forecaster. Hockey News has them at 3rd. I have them at 1st. So all of the Islanders, Carolina, and Washington, all 3 making the playoffs according to all 3 lists on this board. The difference being the Rangers on this list, the Flyers on this list, and I have the Penguins in the playoffs on my list. I'm the only one, so we'll see whether or not that works. 5th in the division on Sports Forecaster is Philly. The Hockey News, remembering it's an even-numbered season, they have Philadelphia in 4th because it's 2021-2022, so since it ends in an even number, Philly makes the playoffs. I have them in 6th. I say that this year that gets broken, but again, betting on a bounce-back season from Carter Hart would definitely get them maybe into a playoff spot. Very unpredictable division. Sports Forecaster has Pittsburgh 6th in the division. The Hockey News has them 5th. I have them 4th. So, for all the discussion of me really hating Pittsburgh, I'm the only one that's got them in the playoffs. 7th in the division, everybody agrees, is New Jersey. 8th in the division, everybody agrees, is Columbus. So that's weird, right? It's weird how when you get to the bottom of the division, everybody kind of agrees. Yeah, so, right? Okay. And then, of course, at the tops of the divisions, there's some agreement. And then you have the Metro, where, sure. Now, the Atlantic. What's interesting is everybody agrees with Colorado. Everybody agrees with Vegas. And in the Atlantic, everybody agrees Tampa Bay first place. So that's the far and away. I'm the only one picking Washington to be first in the Metro, but that division's going to be very close. 2nd in the division, Sports Forecaster, very sold on Boston, having them 2nd. Hockey News has them 4th. I have them 3rd. But I was considering them for 4th, and again, we'll see what happens, but I think that division's going to be close. 3rd in the division, Toronto. Sports Forecaster has Toronto 3rd. Hockey News has Toronto 3rd as well. I have Toronto 4th, but again, them and Boston probably going to be very close in standings. 4th in the division, the Sports Forecaster has Florida. So they are not as bullish on Florida. Both the Hockey News and yours truly have Florida finishing 2nd in the division. The other interesting thing is that the Hockey News, Sports Forecaster, and again, me, all of us have 3 teams making it the Pacific, 5 teams in the Central, and we all have 4 in the Metro and 4 in the Atlantic making the playoffs. Then you get to below the playoff line in the Atlantic. Number 5 on Sports Forecaster is Ottawa. They are more optimistic about Ottawa than the Hockey News or yours truly. We both have them at 6th. But yes, Ottawa absolutely can surprise people. Nobody having them in the playoffs. Other interesting thing is all 4 teams that make the playoffs are agreed upon between Sports Forecaster, Hockey News, and myself. Then 6th in the division, Sports Forecaster has Montreal 6th. So Habs fans, you guys can get mad at them because they've even gone below Ottawa, whereas both the Hockey News and myself have Montreal finishing 5th and just below the playoff line. And I know there's been some discussion about whether or not these are going to, be at all accurate, but it is interesting when you see this that everybody agrees on who may or may not make the playoffs. There is that recency bias. I've talked about that before, where you might want to put, I'd say New Jersey is a good example of this. You look at what New Jersey did in the offseason, and I would think that everybody, and I haven't gone through all the reports yet and read through everything, because digitally on the computer it's not as much fun, but when you're looking through these teams and you're looking at their standings, you might say, I really like what New Jersey did, but, and I'll go with my case, I like what New Jersey did, but do I have them ahead of Philly? Probably not. Rangers? Probably not. Pittsburgh? No. So that's, and then you have Carolina Islanders and Capitals, who I think all finish ahead of New Jersey. I'd be very surprised if they don't. But it doesn't mean we don't like what New Jersey did. Detroit, everybody has Detroit in 7th, and that we really like what's been done so far in Detroit. 8th in the division, everybody agrees on Buffalo. Then you get to the Stanley Cup prediction. I'm predicting Tampa Bay for the Cup. That's what Sports Forecaster's predicting as well. It's 3 in a row. Whereas the Hockey News is predicting Vegas over Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup final. Now, the Sports Forecaster didn't pick a finalist that I saw. Normally they do. They'll say Cup winner and finalist. This year, apparently, they're just like, yeah. For me, I'm picking Tampa. I would say in the final, Vegas, right? And that's that blind spot again, where we will say, oh, well, this team's the best in the regular season. Yeah, they should be in the final. This team should win the Cup. So I will say Tampa Bay, probably Vegas. I would think Sports Forecaster probably would have Vegas in the final. What's interesting with this season's predictions, everybody has Colorado first. Nobody has faith in them being able to win a Stanley Cup now. Based on what happened last year, where everybody was picking Colorado to win the Stanley Cup. Now nobody's picking Colorado to win the Stanley Cup. This is noteworthy because 2017, everybody picked the Capitals, including myself. Then the Capitals flamed out in the second round. So 2018, nobody was picking the Capitals, and then the Capitals won the Stanley Cup. So the Colorado Avalanche are the team looking to prove people wrong. The interesting thing I found, too, going through the Hockey News, they have all of the playoffs ending up with no upsets. None. They have absolutely no upsets on their playoff tree except one. They have Calgary knocking out Edmonton in the first round. And I thought, you guys didn't predict any upsets at all except that one. So if I had put up a tree like that, people would have said, so Shannon just hates Edmonton because they're the only team being upset in the first round. So, yeah. And again, it's that unpredictability of playoffs that shows through in predictions because we'll go, well, this should be the way it turns out. And very often it's not. But it's a lot of fun to look at. It's a lot of fun to discuss. And for me, I've been following the Hockey News. I've been getting their annuals for 30 years now, more than 30 years. Sports Forecaster, I've had it every year since early 2000s, late 90s, I think. So it's been a long time with those, about 20 years. And of course, I've been doing predictions on this channel since 2016 is when I started doing predictions for who I thought would make the playoffs. So we'll see. And I'm honestly looking forward to being wrong. I'm looking forward to a great story. And so if there's great stories in each division, I'll go ahead and try to pick which one I think most likely blows up my prediction. I'll pick 2 in each division. How's that sound? Vancouver absolutely could blow all the predictions out of the water if everybody clicks, if Garland's fantastic, if OEL gets his form back. LA, there's a lot of good young talent there. Nobody's picking them to make the playoffs. They can prove people wrong there. Over in the Central, Chicago, if everything works out for Chicago, they should be a playoff team. And especially if Kaprizov, if that whole thing really, lingers into the season. And then Nashville. Nashville has proven people wrong in the past. It's kind of what they do, right? In the Metro, Rangers. Love the Rangers. I love their youth. I think they're 1 year away Sports Forecaster says no. I kind of think it would be fun if Sports Forecaster was right. Yeah, have the Rangers first in the division and then just see what happens in the playoffs, because that would be very unpredictable. And then Philly. Philly could blow it up because it is 2021-2022. It ends in an even number, and they make the playoffs. And then it's egg on my face, right? And then over in the Atlantic, you've got Montreal. If Carey Price can take them, if Savard is able to replace Shea Weber, and especially if the changes they've made up front work out in their favor, yeah, they make the playoffs. And Ottawa, if they play the whole season the way they played in the second half of last season, they look like a playoff team. But now they have to do it against everybody, not just the teams in Canada. It's going to be very interesting. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And again, you can see, especially with the hockey news in comparison with the predictions I've made, very, very close. So this is why I like to get my season predictions and previews done before the others come out with theirs, just so that it is my predictions, and I stay away from all that. And so whether it's me being influenced, subconsciously, or maybe I have Tampa Bay in first and nobody else does, and I go, well, wait a minute, am I seeing something nobody else is? And then maybe I change them up. So this way I don't do that. And there you go. Thank you guys so much, though, for all your support. It means a lot. If you haven't already hit subscribe, please do so. And hey, I will talk to you guys again in the morning when we continue the Jersey Countdown. Till then, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.